Good morning, students. I hope you all are fine and staying safely at home. In the last session, we saw a lesson Dog, Our Best Friend. I hope you all understood the lesson, and today we are going to see the rest of the lesson. Before moving on to the lesson, I just want to share a small story about a dog. This is a short story about a dog. The name is Just a Call Away. Means this is about a call made by a dog. Let's see what happened. Joe adopted his German Shepherd Buddy when the dog was an 8-week-old puppy. Joe taught Buddy to retrieve the phone when he started experiencing seizure symptoms. If Joe were to block out or be unable to make the call, Buddy was trained to use his teeth to press a speed dial button that calls 911. I'll read it again. Watch carefully. Joe. So, what are the characters here? Joe and Buddy. Joe is the name of a person, and Buddy is the German Shepherd dog. Let's see what is the story about. So, Joe adopted his German Shepherd Buddy when the dog was an 8-week-old puppy. Joe taught Buddy to retrieve the phone when he started experiencing seizure symptoms. If Joe were to black out or be unable to make the call, Buddy was trained to use his teeth to press a speed dial button that calls 911. So, what are the highlighted words here? Adopted, retrieve, seizure, and blackout. Adopted, it has 3 syllables. D-O-P-T, dopt, ed, E-D. How to pronounce? Adopted, meaning legally taking. Second word is retrieve. It has 2 syllables. Retrieve. R-E-trieve. T-R-I-E-V-E. How to pronounce? Retrieve. So you have to extend trieve. Retrieve, meaning get or bring. And the third word is seizure. Syllable, 2 syllables. S-E-I-Z-U-R-E. Seizure is the pronunciation. How to pronounce? Seizure, meaning stroke or fit. Let's see the lesson. Joe adopted his German Shepherd Buddy when the dog was an 8-week-old puppy. So, Joe is a person. He adopted a German Shepherd dog. His name is Buddy when it was 8-week-old puppy. Means it was very small. And Joe trained Buddy to retrieve the phone, that is to take and use the phone when he started experiencing seizure symptoms. Seizures means fits or stroke, some nervous disorder. So when he experienced these symptoms, he was unable to make call. So before that, he taught the Buddy to retrieve the phone when he started experiencing the symptoms. If Joe were to black out, it means unconscious. So if he become unconscious or unable to make the call, Buddy was trained to use his teeth. So Buddy uses his teeth to press the speed dial button in the phone. For what? To call 911. It is the emergency number to contact. So it was trained in such a way to make calls in emergency condition. When Buddy was just 18 months old, he called 911 and began barking into the phone. A few minutes later, paramedics arrived to Joe's house and found him unconscious. After spending a couple days in the hospital, he recovered thanks to his fast acting dog Buddy. I'll read it again, listen carefully. When Buddy was just 18 months old, he called 911 and began barking into the phone. A few minutes later, paramedics arrived to Joe's house and found him unconscious. After spending a couple days in the hospital, he recovered thanks to his fast acting dog Buddy. So, what are the highlighted words? That is the hard words here: paramedics and unconscious. Paramedics, how many syllables? 4 syllables. P-A-R, par, A, med, M-E-D-X-I-C-S. Paramedics. How to pronounce? Paramedics, meaning a person who gives emergency medical care. He is not a doctor, but he gives emergency care to the patients. Unconscious, it has 3 syllables: un, and con, 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 conscious, scious, unconscious. How to pronounce? Unconscious. Unconscious, meaning senseless. So, let's see the story. When Buddy was just 18 months old, so when the dog was 18 months old, he called 911 and began barking into the phone. So, as the dog cannot speak, it barked, calling 911. And few minutes later, because 911 is a emergency number to call for medical help, a few minutes later, paramedics, that is the person who gives emergency treatment, arrived to Joe's house and found him unconscious. He was not conscious at all, he was lying down. After spending so they took him to the hospital. So he was there in the hospital for 2 days, that is couple days. After that, he recovered and said thanks to the fast acting dog. So he was trained, that is, the dog was trained by the master, that is Joe. So he acted accordingly when he was unconscious. So, see, like humans, dogs are also clever and given timely help to his master. So, the lesson is about the dog, our best friend, right? So, the story is very much related to this lesson, so I just wanted to share the story to you. So, training is important because it will help when we are in need. That is what happened in this story. Because no one is there to help Joe, so he trained his dog itself to call during emergency. This made him to live now. So, he thanked the dog Buddy. I hope you enjoyed the story. Now let's move on to the lesson. Now we are going to see the recap of what we had learned in the last session. Let us see. Come on. Let's read the story of a dog that exhibits unfailing loyalty towards its master. Hashim. So what are the characters in the story? Hashim and his dog Bruno. So we are going to see a lesson about a dog and an old man. Let us see. Hashim was an old man who lived alone. His only friend was his pet dog, Bruno. Hashim had adopted Bruno when it was a small, abandoned puppy. Bruno had grown up to be a handsome big dog who always be faithful towards its master. Hashim too loved his dog. So let's see the meaning for hard words. Abandoned, meaning alone. And the second word is handsome, that is good looking, beautiful or attractive. So what's happening? There are two characters, Hashim and Bruno. Hashim is the old man and Bruno is the dog. So they both were living alone in the house. So they were no one to take care of his old man and the dogs. So the old man adopted dog Bruno. And later it has grown into a handsome big dog. It was very faithful, that is true to its master. So Hashim and the dog Bruno were living in a house. So every morning Hashim would take his dog for a walk. They would walk through the streets and stop at a tea shop. Here Hashim would have a cup of tea and Bruno would get a biscuit. Hashim would then buy a newspaper and walk back home. So this happens every day. So every morning once they get up, Hashim would take his dog Bruno to a walk. They would walk through the streets and stop at a tea shop. So after stopping at the tea shop, they'll have a cup of tea. Hashim would have a cup of tea and Bruno will have biscuit. Then Hashim would buy a newspaper and they both walk back home. So this happens every day morning. So then one day, Hashim fell very sick. It was late at night and he could not call for help. Bruno, sensing that its master was sick, went around the neighborhood barking and waking the neighbors up. So what are the words here? Sensing, neighborhood. Sensing means feeling. Neighbor means it's the nearby resident, the people who reside near our house. So what happened one day? Hashim was not feeling well. It was very late at night and he could not call anyone for help. So somehow something has sensed Bruno that his master was not feeling well. So he acted accordingly. He went around the neighborhood and barked to wake up the neighbors because it is very late at night, everyone will be sleeping. So they wanted to wake up. For that, the dog went around and barked. Till now, we have watched the recap of the last session. So now we are moving into the rest of the lesson. So listen carefully. I'll read the lesson now. The neighbors gathered around Hashim's house and took him to the hospital. Bruno too accompanied its master to the hospital and refused to leave his side. When all the neighbors dispersed, Bruno stayed back with its master. I'll read again. Listen carefully. The neighbors gathered around Hashim's house and took him to the hospital. Bruno too accompanied its master to the hospital and refused to leave his side. When all the neighbors dispersed, Bruno stayed back with its master. What are the highlighted words here? Neighbors, gathered, accompanied, refused, dispersed. The first word is neighbor. It has two syllables. Neighbor, N-E-Y-B-E-R, neighbor. The pronunciation is neighbor, meaning nearby resident. The second word is gather. It has two syllables. G-A-T-H-E-R. Pronunciation is gather, meaning collect. Third word is accompanied. It has four syllables. A-C-C-O-M-P-A-N-I-E-D. Accompanied. So we have to extend it. Need. Accompanied, meaning go with. Refused. It has two syllables. Refused. R-E-F-U-S-E-D. How it's pronounced? Refused. Meaning deny. And the last word is dispersed. It has two syllables. D-I-S. Dispersed. P-E-R-S-E-D. How to pronounce? Dispersed. Meaning left. Let's see the story now. So the neighbors gathered around Hashim's house. So what happened? In the last slide, the dog went to the nearby houses and barked to wake them up. So the neighbors woke up and gathered around his house and took Hashim to the hospital. So Bruno also accompanied its master to the hospital and it refused to leave his side. So the dog was sitting along with the master. It refused to go back to home. When all the neighbors dispersed, means they went back to their home, Bruno alone stayed back with its master because he was not feeling well because his master was sick. So he felt very sad. Look at the picture. It was sad and crying. Bruno was sad because it could not go for a morning walk with its master. It sensed that its master missed reading the newspaper every morning. I'll read again. Bruno was sad because it could no longer go for a morning walk with its master. Because every day morning once they get up, Hashim and his dog Bruno will go for a walk on the streets. So now he is not well, he is very sick. So the dog remembered the walking they had before. And hereafter, he thought he could not go for a walk. And it sensed that its master missed reading the newspaper every morning. So every morning his master will read the newspaper. So today it is not happening. So the dog is very sad. So the dog is very sad, waiting for his master to recover. So I'll stop with this. The rest of the lesson will be taught to you in the next session. Until read the lesson line by line and understand the lesson clearly. Here is an assignment for you. In the last class, I have given you dictation words to write in your classwork. Continue in the same notebook, and today write Roman letter 2 and today's date. Write synonyms and copy down the words given in the slide. Take the next page, put Roman letter 3, write antonyms and copy down the antonyms given in the slide. Note, copy down the synonyms and antonyms in your classwork which we have written in the last class. The same notebook you have to write and learn the synonyms and antonyms. See you in the next session with the rest of the lesson. Thank you.